Hello, I'm glad you joined me today. Today we are looking at John, the fifth chapter, verses 1 through 15. And I've entitled this message, Let's Get Up. So let's go ahead and start reading at the first verse. Sometime later, Jesus went up to Jerusalem for one of the Jewish festivals. Now there is in Jerusalem near the sheep gate a pool, which in Aramaic is called Bethesda, and which is surrounded by 5 colored colonnades. Here a great number of disabled people used to lie: the blind, the lame, the paralyzed. One who was there had been an invalid for 38 years. When Jesus saw him lying there and learned that he had been in this condition for a long time, he asked him, "Do you want to get well?" "Sir," the invalid replied, "I have no one to help me into the pool when the water is stirred. While I'm trying to get in, someone else goes down ahead of me." Then Jesus said to him, "Get up, pick up your mat, and walk." And at once the man was cured, and he picked up his mat and walked. The day on which this took place was a Sabbath. And so the Jewish leaders said to the man who had been healed, "It is the Sabbath. The law forbids you to carry your mat." But he replied, "The man who made me well said to me, 'Pick up your mat and walk.'" So they asked him, "Who is this fellow who told you to pick it up and walk?" The man who had been healed had no idea who it was, for Jesus had slipped away into the crowd that was there. Later, Jesus found him at the temple and said to him, "See, you are well again. Stop sinning, or something worse may happen to you." The man went away and told the Jewish leaders that it was Jesus who had made him well. Well, when Jesus went to Jerusalem, we don't know what the festival was, but it was some time later after he had spent some time in his own hometown. And it's unclear if God used this pool for healing, or was it just something that people believed. Many believed enough to gather there. And I'm using the New International Version, which does not include the fourth verse that some manuscripts and versions include. This fourth verse is an explanation for this stirring of the water. It says, "For an angel of the Lord went down at a certain seasons into the pool and stirred the water. Whoever stepped in first after the stirring of the water was healed of whatever disease he had." This is the explanation of what was believed. But this man that the Apostle John tells us about is the very one that Jesus is focusing on. Jesus learns, perhaps from the Holy Spirit, that this man has been in this invalid state for 38 years. And he's laying there with others. So it would be safe to say that he wants healing too. He is, however, a sad, kind of tragic figure who seems to have no one. He believes himself to be helpless. He knows very well that what he cannot do, and is focused on this. And we see him in such a state of decline in his health and friendlessness. Perhaps people have grown tired of this man, and no one will even have pity on him to allow him to get into the pool first. Also, we do see from what Jesus said that he's not right with God. Maybe his focus for a long time has been just looking at the pool, wondering when it was going to stir. But now he lays there and accepts the fact that no one will even help him get in. So someone would probably daily leave him there just to fend for himself. But faith in God has long since gone from his mind. Why even try? I hope that you're not in that hopeless state right now. But if you are, I pray that you will stay with this message and that God will minister to your heart. If someone were to ask you if you wanted your problems to be completely resolved, what do you think you would say? Do you know that God has a solution, a good solution for all your troubles? This man didn't yet know that the help of man was useless, but he did know that no one wanted to help him. Are you in either one of those places? So he focused on Jesus, thinking, well, maybe this guy will help me. He's been alone so long that he quickly said, well, it's because I have no one. I have no help. That was the first thing that came to his mind. I'm abandoned. What's worse than being sick? Maybe being sick and alone, but maybe even worse than that is knowing that no one wants to be with me in this condition. The picture here of this person is a picture of someone without any hope. Proverbs 18:14 describes this state. The human spirit can endure in sickness, but a crushed spirit, who can bear? Well, guess what? This is where the very place where God comes in and asks us a question. Do you want to get well? Do you want to be delivered? Would you like to be rescued? It's a question anyone could ask you, but it's God that's asking. He who holds all the power and has all the answers. Listen, he has all the power to do anything, and he knows what is best to do. And you might think, well, of course I want help. Isn't that obvious? Who wouldn't? But Jesus will even ask this of a blind man who cried out to him. He asked him, what would you like me to do for you? The blind man said, Rabbi, I want to see. Go, Jesus said, your faith has healed you. Immediately he received his sight and followed Jesus. That's Mark 10:51 and 52. So why would he ask? Doesn't he know? He wants us to say what we want. Faith begins here. Just pour out your heart and express to God what you want and what you need. This man, however, did not say what he wanted. Surely his spirit was broken. He was only thinking of the help of man, but his experience really told him that that's no help at all. And yet, that's what he was focused on. Have you been hoping that something that never works will someday work? How did he come to this place in his life? Jeremiah 2:13, my people have committed two sins. They have forsaken me, the spring of living water, and have dug their own cisterns, broken cisterns that cannot hold water. Have you ever heard that phrase before? That cannot hold water. It means that it can't be verified, it doesn't make sense, it's not reasonable, it can't be trusted. So God is saying, instead of coming to me and trusting in me, they have tried to get their help from places that can never help. When looking to God, he desires faith in him alone, not faith in what I can do or what man can do. These are broken cisterns. They can never deliver to us the life and the hope we need in Christ. Yes, God uses man to help us, but we must put all our trust in him. He will decide how best to help us, so we wait on him. Why trust what others say and they believe? Trust God, what he says in his word. Do you really think that God is waiting to see what you're able to do? No, he's waiting for us to look to him. Yes, we may be tired of trying, but Luke 5:5 reminds us that at his word, his command, if he commands us, we can do anything. Simon, that is Peter, answered when Jesus told him to try once more, Master, we've worked hard all night and haven't caught anything. It's hopeless. But because you say so, I will let down the nets. The end results for Peter and those who were with him were life-changing. If you believed, would it change your life? To be broken and crushed spiritually is complete hopelessness. It's most important need we have is spiritual healing. Spiritual healing must be first and last. What was Jesus's answer to this broken man? Because he was done. It's impossible for him. Jesus said, get up, pick up your mat, and walk. At once the man was cured. He picked up his mat and he walked. This was a miracle healing, and there was something in Jesus's command that made the man believe and receive the healing. What was it? Jesus has authority and he has power. I want to go a bit deeper without trying to make excuses for why people don't get healed. We are shown these episodes like this healing in the Bible for a reason. It shows who Jesus was and is, the Son of God, and he has authority. So his will is the most important thing. Nothing is impossible for God. But why don't we receive healing? Listen, do we not understand, surely by now, that there is always this deeper desire of God to see us come to trust in him alone and obey his command to get up in the spirit? Physical healing changes our outer man, but the inner man is untouched unless we believe in him. Remember, this man, after he had received his healing, had to be cautioned that he must stop sinning. Our spiritual life depends on faith in him alone. If we do not understand this, then we continue to look away from God and look to ourselves and to people to help us. Jesus not only commands us to get up, but to pick up that which you have been lying in and follow me. This is a picture of full obedience because he's commanding us to not only decide to get up, but to remove that backward glance. Why command us to get up and pick up our mat? Have you ever wondered why he would say this? Did the man not know to do this? Or was it for our sake? This mat is a fixed point where we have decided we're not going any further. When we place the mat down, that's where we stop. We have decided we're going to camp here. And why not? I'm surrounded by other broken people who would agree with me. Is there ever a time in Scripture where we are told to stop moving in faith? We are not walking with the Lord when we are fixated on ourselves, man, or the things of this world. That will never, ever work. Our mat we're resting on, maybe it's dwelling on our problems, fears, how to figure all this stuff out. One day we will see that this mat, we need to pick it up before we can take another step forward. We cannot move forward until we forsake this mat in faith. Why? Because if we don't, we're just reserving our place of defeat and discouragement. We want to fall back in unbelief. We are reserving that right. We secretly, it may be hard to believe, but we secretly plan to fail. There's doubt. But these things we used to put our trust in, they really don't help. And maybe they're even uncomfortable, but they are familiar. So that's what we do. We just camp there. If I may continue with this analogy a bit longer, the mat that we need to pick up is this resting in our own coping mechanisms, our own self-pity. Perhaps we're hoping that if we tell our story one more time, then we'll, like a shot of adrenaline, we'll get the payoff that we'll be listened to and people will have pity on us and they'll feel sorry for us. Is this the mat that you're resting on? Self-pity? And I say this in love. You know, I know what it's like. What a comfortable mat that is, but it's not long. I mean, it's only for a moment. And is it really worthy goal for a child of God? We're not supposed to be like that. No, he tells us, I have something better for you. And it includes you not being alone anymore, but come and follow me. This is an inner walk where He is our focus and the one we put our hope in. There is something greater than being even physically or mentally healed. Hang with me. I know that this is easy maybe for me to say, but being able to stand up on the inside is a true victory against all odds. Against such there is no law. Because I'm walking in the Spirit, I've decided all I want to do is follow Him, come what may. I don't care. There are many people who are healthy and they can run for miles and they have the sharpest minds, but they have no inner peace, no direction, no meaning. There once was a lady, her name was Amy Carmichael, and she was a missionary for years in India. I believe it was around the turn of the century. And she rescued young girls from prostitution. I think her orphanage is still working today. But one day she fell and hurt her back and was unable to walk or at least even get around well at all for 20 years. She was at times in great pain. What was the purpose in all of that? She never was healed, and eventually she died this way. I don't know the full reason for why she was allowed to be in that state, but if you haven't been introduced to her books, you're in for a big treat. All these books that she wrote in severe pain, she writes about what she learned about God in such a state. He took her deeper to Himself and He taught her things He wanted her to share with the whole world. You want to see what getting up and taking up your mat and walking looks like? Read her books. There are those who have gone before us who have suffered severe persecution that we've never known. But they have learned something so important, we need to know it. God means for us to know it. This faith that stands up in the Spirit needs only Jesus. You may understand this man's position as he's lying flat on his back, looking up at Jesus as Jesus is standing over him. What do you think Jesus would say to you and me? He might say, well, you're right where I thought you'd be, so let's get up and let's pick up that familiar habit that you're resting in, and let's begin to walk away together, away from this hopelessness, because I've got plans for you. Do you know that He has plans for you? The word says in Jeremiah 29:11, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future. When we're flat on our back, He has our attention. But do you know that it is in His command that lies the power to move? Because it's His will. If He commands it, then He will enable you. Who could stop it if He commands you? Joshua 1:9, have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. For the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. Remember Peter? He could walk just fine, but Jesus gave him a command to walk on water. That would really be hard for us. Why are we given these accounts? Does He expect us to start walking on water? He wants us to take these things to heart so that we will know Him in a deeper way and walk in a deeper faith. Your life is not just about your happiness and comfort in your flesh, because it doesn't last, does it? But there is something deeper and more meaningful, eternal, and it has to do with your calling and your destiny. This man was jarred by the command of Jesus, get up and begin to walk in faith. There is no faith if we don't follow it by action. Listen, maybe we still see the problem exist, but the command is the same. Whatever the problem, it will not hinder my faith in Jesus nor His power. He does not need my solutions, but he needs me to trust that he will do good in my life. But now we see that once this man began to walk, there was someone who quickly told him why he could not. Notice who it was, and this will happen in your walk. There are these lawgivers. They make up laws that are not God's law and expect us to live in that and keep us at bay, keep us controlled. They act as accusers, and all they care about is their agenda. This is called the devil himself. There will always be some people the devil uses, or either however he wants to do it, who will seek to control us, what you believe. He may be even speaking into your mind right now for his own purposes. People may want you to just be predictable and not doing something that they don't have faith to believe. Notice that these Jewish leaders, it's the Sabbath. That's what they're saying. The law forbids you to carry your mat. That's not true. God's law doesn't say that. But he replied, the man who made me well made me to pick up my mat and walk. So they asked him, who is this fellow who told you to pick it up and walk? And notice that they don't have any joy for him, no concern for this guy. But he learned. This is the way he's still subservient to man. He has the fear of man more than God. This also describes his mat that he needs to pick up. The word said he had no idea who Jesus was, for Jesus slipped away into the crowd. Later, Jesus found him at the temple and said, see, you are well again. Stop sinning or something worse will happen. The man went away and told the Jewish leaders, it was Jesus who made me well. So let's look at this for a moment. What if even after I get up, now pay attention to this. What if after I get up in my spirit and pick up my mat and I begin to walk in the spirit and I notice the trouble is still there? Sometimes God does not remove what we would label a handicap or an evil in our life. Are you caught in addiction? Are you enslaved by evil thoughts? Do you have family members that are oppressing you? What temptations would you say have you and are overwhelming you, and you have no hope of overcoming? You still see these things around you? I want to propose something to you. God knows that these things are still making an impact on your life, but why won't he remove them? Consider this. Judges 2:21 and 22. I will no longer drive out before them any of the nations Joshua left when he died. I will use them to test Israel and see whether they will keep the way of the Lord and walk in it as their ancestors did. The Lord may be using this negative, even this evil thing in your life to train you to choose good in the face of evil. He wants you to do that. Listen, he provides the power through his command, but he wants to see us believe and not fall back in unbelief. Belief here is to pray for his help and to tell him, I know that nothing's impossible with you. He does not tempt you, nor is he performing what is evil, but he uses the devil as a tool. So you believe and choose what is right. Believe what his command tells you, that in his command there's power. If he commands me, I'm able to do it. To get up and then walk. Judges 3, verses 1, 2, and 4. These are nations the Lord left to test all those in Israel who had not experienced any of the wars in Canaan. He did this only to teach warfare to his descendants of the Israelites who had not had previous battle experience. They were left to test the Israelites to see whether they would obey the Lord's commands, which he had given their ancestors through Moses. So He is training us to fight spiritually by learning to not go back to your old ways, but to believe and receive the power from His commands to get up and believe. If He tells me, I can do it. And move when you're engaged in very intense battle. Deuteronomy 8:2 says, remember how the Lord your God led you all the way through the wilderness these 40 years to humble and test you in order to know what was in your heart, whether you would keep His commands. Are you in the wilderness of evil all around you? This tent, this flesh, was never meant to be our focus. That is a big stumbling block, to look at ourselves and focus on us and our behavior. We are not the object of our faith. When He asks us to get up and pick up our mat, it is so that we will trust in Him and His grace that is sufficient, not in ourselves. It's humbling to the flesh to realize that unless the Lord helps me, I'm done. I don't know what will happen after He commands me to get up, but I will follow Him and just trust Him one step at a time. How about you? Can you trust Him? Lord, I don't know. I can't see myself making it through this day without giving in to this and that and the other, but I can make one step in faith. Can you do that? Can you make one step in faith? Pray to Him, God, I'm going to move away from this situation. I'm going to trust in you. I'm going to start praying. I'm going to read your word. I'm going to do whatever you show me to do. I'm going to make one step. I can believe for that much. And see how the Lord will provide you with your strength and help. I pray you will be helped greatly. And I pray that God will continue to encourage us to keep moving forward. He is the one we trust, not ourselves. No, we fail, but He can be trusted. God bless you. Until next time.